New York, 1922. The tempo of the city had changed sharply. The buildings were higher. The parties were bigger. The morals were looser and the liquor was cheaper. The restlessness approached hysteria.
Shall we?
Who is this Gatsby?
Do you know him?
War hero.
Mr. Gatsby doesn't exist.
Gatsby? What Gatsby?
The Great Gatsby is a novel by Scott Fitzgerald, published for the first time in the United States in 1925. It tells the story of a rich American, J. Gatsby, and various love affairs. It is set in New York and Long Island in 1922, and is the clearest portrait of the Jay's age, that period between World War I and the Great Depression, also called Roaring Twenties, because the United States were living a moment of a great war economic. Most of the population was rich and large luxury parties were on the agenda. We also see in the film there is one day when you don't prepare and you go to these extraordinary parties. Why? Have fun. There were also the years of prohibition, a law which prohibited the manufacture or sale of alcohol. Large organizations in the world produced and sold alcohol illegally, while the rest of the population were ready to drink in the spigots. The novel is considered a symbol of the great American dream. Are not narrated the lives of those who did make it, but to those who have failed. Gatsby, a man who strives to death to achieve her dream, but which inevitably fails, achieve happiness through wealth and power, with the sole intent of gaining Daisy, the golden girl, as she was called. When the other characters talk about him and his past, no one really knows who he is and how it got to accumulate much money. There are rumors during its festivities, many half true about him. The only certainty is that it was linked to the underworld. Fitzgerald managed to weave the event present with those pieces. In 9 chapters, the main theme is that of loneliness and indifference, which are summarized in the last sentence in the novel and in the film. So we continue to row both against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. The story centers on Jane Getz, the son of a poor peasant of North Dakota, who runs away from home, meets a Jack sinking, and decides to go and help the person on board, Mr. Cody, which he was very grateful and taught all about who be a gentleman. Gay is sent to Louisville for a military training, where he met and fell in love with Daisy. Unfortunately, goes to war after spending a short time together. The two were eternal fidelity. In the summer of 1922, Nick Carraway, a young Middlesex stockbroker, arrives in New York, and he will be the neighborhood of Gatsby, a narrator of the story, who knows the story in the same way as the reader, increase the suspense and make possible the many twists, so as not to give the reader the ability to predict what will happen. The film begins with the famous green light and Gatsby that recounts the great years of his youth, when he was always trying to see the best side of people. Start with a flashback, Nick's memories, when he returns to New York and tells his story to the doctor who follows him in the asylum. All in his goods except for Gatsby, a great dream. For Nick, Gatsby cultivated hope. There was a great feeling in him. He knew at a party in New York in 1922. Life was hectic, all prospered, and the Wall Street stock market was steady clean. Show streak more and more high-builded and low moral characterized this period. The real story begins when Nick went to see her cousin and her husband, a rich St. Paul. The marriage was not pink and flower. Tom cheating Daisy with Myrtle, Wilson's wife, the mechanic of Tom. In the super luxury house of Daisy, Tom boasts of his trophies and won various competitions. The first night at dinner, Nick tells that he escaped from a wedding. Immediately Tom intervenes, and we can see he is racy because he drew a reflection on the book The Color of Fallen Empires, where other lower races want to dominate the real ones, and he says just looking at a black waiter. Pretty well, everything goes until the lover callers arrive that irritate Daisy. She gets up to argue with Tom, but unable to face him, go out with Nick in the garden, and she tells him that they have a daughter. Nick describes also the Valley of Ashes, a grotesque landscape, and landfill which is fast growing and for that burns and forms a lot of ash. All this controlled by the eyes of ophthalmologist Dr. Eckenberg, that sees everything as good eyes. Gatsby and Nick began to spend time together, and he tells his story. He has studied at Oxford. As regards films, is a film of 2013 directed by Buzzo and starring high-caliber actors such as Leonardo DiCaprio, Carey Mulligan and Tobey Maguire. This film is fourth film adaptation of the novel after a silent version of 1926 and a second 1949 and the third, the most famous, 1974. Everything is mixed in the New York of Baz Luhrmann, the luxury villas of Long Island and the suburbs at the foot of the city. In the film, Luhrmann exaggerates. In truth, many of the machines used even exist at that time are used only to give more luxury to the film. One difference, as the record changed the location, went from luxury tasks and scenarios sumptuous villas in the squalor of a small apartment in the suburb, while it consumed betrayal, part of the poorest city and perimeter landscapes. So it ends the story of this great character who, despite pretending to be someone else with his spoken of his way to say all men, failed to complete his dream. It was a great truth that is repeated throughout the film. There are rich descendants and the poor that are enriched, and this Gatsby had never been able to tolerate. Before the death of Gatsby, Nick tells him, "You worth the whole damn batch put together." And it is Nick to discover the essence of this character, chasing a dream, this Gatsby, apparently full of thousands of friends, but really alone. Just chasing a dream of love, perhaps unattainable, not for the fact itself, but for the smallness of Daisy, smiling miserable, but also afraid to face important decisions, so much as she herself says, "For a woman it's better to be beautiful and stupid, it's convenient." Analyzing and making some reflection, I can say that despite Gatsby says that the past can be repeated, it's better to remember with affection but go forward in search of new adventures. As for the different scenes, the city seems neatly divided among rich whites and black gents musicians. Relationships between people are forced and based on the interest material. At any time there is a attempt to really understand each other or to accept it for what is it. Even Gatsby, whose love for Daisy is total and sincere, can't accept the fact that does not begin paid by the girl with the same intensity and absolutely. Despite several lavish parties, Gatsby has no friend. We can see that in his sad and lonely funeral. The intent of Gatsby to be surrounded by thousands of people was futile because even his great love denied to attend his funeral. Only Nick, who tried until the last, great admiration and consideration for this great character.
Will you still love me when I'm no longer young and beautiful? Will you still love me when I got nothing but my aching soul? I know you will, I know you will, I know that you will. Will you still love me when I'm no longer beautiful? I've seen